welcome to all our audience to 2022 from my side, and I hope that this year will bring good things to all. Steve, you want to join in quickly?
Yeah, Gerrie, morning everyone. Yeah, all good. Looking forward to the presentation, and let's lock and load.
Right. So yeah, let's just have a look again at the COVID thing. Although there's a lot of relaxation, I think we must keep on doing what we do for the right reasons. So a couple of tips, as always: wear a mask when you're out in public. Wash your hands with soap or alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Then throw the tissue in the bin. Clean and disinfect frequently used objects. Right, so this morning we're going to talk about refurbished and recycled geysers, and the reason for this is it seems like these geysers are surfacing again. We've had quite a number of these coming to the front all over the country, even down in Cape Town. So we thought it good to do a presentation just to highlight again the risks involved with this. So this is the type of thing that you might come across, and this is what these items look like. So let's see what the contents. We're talking what does SANS 10254, the installation, maintenance, replace and repair of fixed electrical storage water heating systems tells us, as well as SANS 151, which deals with fixed electrical storage water heaters. And also we're going to have a look at the NRCS, which is the National Regulator for Compulsory Standards media release, which was released in June 2020. We're going to have a look at what they say regarding this. First of all, please note that the items displayed on this presentation is purely intended for demonstration purposes and not to show preference or the promotion of any specific brands, suppliers, and or manufacturers. Right, let's have a look. SANS 10254, regarding the installation, maintenance, replacement, and repair of fixed water heating systems, says the following. In section 4, subparagraph 1.3, specific requirements for the assembly. The assembly shall comprise of the appropriate of the following. And in section B it says a fixed electrical storage water heater that complies with SANS 151. SANS 151, there's a couple of things here, and specifically when it comes to marking. And SANS 151 deals with the item, in other words, the geyser itself. And under the section of marking, it says the following: a water heater shall bear the following information in legible and indelible marking, at least in English, on a background color appropriate to the working pressure of the water heater. A, the rated capacity of the water container of the water heater in liters. In the case of a closed type water heaters, the working pressure in kilopascals at which the water heater is designed to operate. An indication as to whether the water heater is to be installed horizontally or vertically, and whether it is suitable for wall or floor mounted or both. Then it carries on and it says in D, whether the heater is a standard heater or a solar or a dual water heater. E, the relevant standing loss per 24 hours in kilowatt hours. F, the moisture resistant classification, in other words, the IPX rating, and also an energy label as discussed in Annexure E. So these are all the markings that, in terms of this standard, must be displayed on a geyser. And these are just two examples of what we are talking about, more commonly known as the serial plate. again, the color, and you will see all of these things that they mentioned above, is all of that has been displayed on these serial plates on the standard geyser that we are used to use. And this is the typical example of what we're seeing. These are the newest photographs that I could get hold of what a recycled geyser look like. And you will see clearly that there's no serial plate, there's no energy label, there's nothing on. In actual fact, they just say, in this instance, 400 kPa recommended. And that is not what SANS 151 says that needs to be on this geyser. So I think it's fairly clear and easy to identify these geysers, and you will also see it's got a label on it that says recycle. So when you come across something like this, guys, then the red flags should go up. This is an example of the energy label that also needs to be on a geyser. SANS 151 section 8.2, the operating instructions. Each water heater shall be supplied with a leaflet or a stick-on label fixed to the water, which contains in at least English instructions and information required for the operation and maintenance of a water heater. So once again, that's not negotiable. And as you saw in the examples above, these are not there. This is the typical example of the label that we are talking about. There's the installation instructions, the warranty conditions, the maintenance, everything is on here. SANS 151 8.2, instructions for the installation, maintenance and repair. The leaflet or label accompanying the heater shall clearly state that for safe and effective performance, the water heater shall be installed and maintained and repaired strictly in accordance with the appropriate and relevant requirements of SANS 10254. Once again, in the previous slide or in the previous photograph, you saw the label that was there, and on that label, it states that the geyser needs to be installed in line with SANS 10254. And on these recycled geysers, that's never mentioned anywhere. And this is just an extract of typical label, and you will see all of these. There you have SANS 10254 and 252 over there as well. And here's a typical leaflet of one of the geysers that's in circulation. And once again, it says the installation must be or must comply to 10254 and 252. Then SANS 151 8.1 goes further to say 8.1.2 pipe connectors. The water inlet and outlets shall be clearly indicated. Now, in this instance, this one would assume is the hot water outlet, or should be the hot water outlet. And as you can see, there's no indication, it's not even colored. So, you know, especially when we're looking at the layman, he's not going to know what this is about. He's going to make an assumption, and yeah, what follows can be anything. Once again, you see the recycled label sitting there. SANS 151 Annexure B. And I think it all comes down to what's here. 9.2.2, repairs to the water container. Defects in the water container shall not be repaired under any circumstances. And 10.2.2 says repairs to the inner container. Defects in the inner container shall not be repaired under any circumstances. So guys, I think this is quite clear that in terms of the regulations, you're not even supposed to try and fix a geyser, a faulty geyser that has been removed. So from what we understand and from the research, it seems like these geysers are geysers that's been removed, that has failed for some or other reason, and they are now being refurbished. What refurbish or recycle mean we don't really know. We don't know exactly what these parties are doing to fix the geyser. But you can imagine if the inner tank has burst or started leaking, it stands to reason, or one would assume they would somehow fix that inner tank by either welding it or brazing or whatever the case is. And that is not necessarily going to be the right thing to do, because all of these geysers has got a lining on the inside, and I cannot see how they're going to fix that lining on the inside if they do welding. In actual fact, I think they are even weakening, or they might be weakening the material or the metal further. So I think that's one of the biggest concerns here. And also, if we think about the date of manufacture, on all of the manufacturer's products, there's a date of manufacture or a code or something that you can determine when this geyser was manufactured. Now, in the instance of these recycled geysers, it seems though they remove the outside casing and replace it with a new shiny casing. So the information as far as the age of that geyser is obviously disappearing with that. It never comes back. So you don't know. That geyser that is being bought and installed can be 10, 15 years old for all you know. So that stands to reason that that geyser is not going to last the expected time that one would normally expect from a new geyser. Steve, I don't know if you want to add something at this point.
Gerrie, all good.
All right, so this is the NRCS media release we were talking about. NRCS, once again, the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications. This media release was published on the 24th of June 2020, and it says it's regarding the issues and a stern warning against the illegal trade practice of geysers. So I think the important thing here is, as you can see, it is a warning to the people out there, to everybody out there, that these are illegal. And it says, the NRCS has been inundated with complaints on the sale and advertisement of second-hand or refurbished geysers that do not comply with the applicable technical regulation, which contains in VC 9006 for hot water storage tanks for domestic use. In response, the regulator conducted inspections and discovered a surge in the illegal selling of refurbished geysers. All geysers, new and modified, must conform with the safety and labeling requirements as outlined in the technical regulation before being offered for sale, which we just spoke about in terms of SANS 151. That's the regulation that they are referring to. It is therefore required of any business trading in these products to submit an application for approval of the sale to the NRCS. Through this process, an applicant, importer, or manufacturer of regulated products is required to submit a sample of a product and a full test report acquired from an accredited testing facility for examination, testing or evaluation to determine compliance with the relevant compulsory specifications that are enforced before the letter of authority certificate is issued. So we normally called an LOA, which is the letter of authority, which is issued by the NRCS. At this point in time, to the best of our knowledge and through research, we determined that there is no LOA for these geysers. The National Regulator of Compulsory Standards, once again, is just a reminder. It is a note to all industry players, contractors, insurance companies, and other interested parties that are therefore warned not to manufacture or sell non-compliant second-hand or refurbished geysers if not approved by the NRCS. So guys, please do not work with these things. Do not install them. because number one, it is illegal. Number two, it is obviously non-compliant in terms of all of the regulations. Once again, there's just an example of what we have found, what has been circulated. So these types of geysers, guys, stay away. Do not. And we understand, everything goes about price. But in this instance, cheap is going to be resulting in expensive. So you can only think what's going to happen to a geyser like that. When we talk about the letter of authorization by the NRCS would also like to urge South African consumers to be alert and request sellers to produce proof of compliance, in other words, an LOA, for products before they purchase them. Once again, in this instance, no certificate for these geysers exists to prove that these geysers are compliant to the relevant standards required. And the standards that we are talking about are the fixed electrical storage water heaters, the SANS 10151, 10254, 1352 heat pumps, and 10106 solar geysers. All of these regulations points towards the legality and or approved product. Once again, just on one of the labels, and in this instance, they actually noted the LOA number, which has been approved by NRCS, just as an example. Then the media release goes further to say non-compliant products are hazardous and can cause harm to consumers. Similarly, faulty geysers can easily explode or cause an electrical shock when used and are also not energy efficient. The NRCS mandate is protecting human health, safety, the environment, and ensuring fair trade, as well as rooting out non-compliant products in the market. So, guys, this is the NRCS's role. It's their obligation, their mandate, their job, if I can put it like that, to protect us. So, please, I beg you, do not install these geysers. If you need to report or if there's anything like the surfacing, please contact NRCS, Mr. Bongani Kanyile. There's his number, 012-482-8700. And I'm sure you can also contact myself, Steve van Zyl, or even Herman Strauss, if there's anything like that, so that it can be reported and investigated, because I think all of us need to work together to get this out of the system. Do not support these guys, because we are creating a problem for our industry, as well as obviously the risks to the consumer. Steve, anything from your side at this point?
Yeah, I think, Gerrie, well done. I think it's very informative. And I think that, every day we look at geysers and everything else, and we don't quite understand, the detail that goes into the signage or the information on the geyser. We actually take it as it's there and it's there. But, as you've gone in with the detail in terms of the LOA and the ratings, et cetera, and I think it's key that it's done there and it is there for a purpose. It's there to ensure that we understand that the product that we're installing is fit for purpose, and we're working within the safe parameters of installation, et cetera. And I think that the key thing is, if your clients bought it, make them aware of it. I think, all too often we see it where the question will come back with, well, the client bought it. I'm just installing it. I think we need to be real, and to be able to, ensure that and educate the client in terms of where this is. It's like everything else. If there's no market for that product, then it'll die its own death. And unfortunately, we do have individuals that purchase these. I've been aware of complexes that have had them installed. We're not talking one, we're talking 20s and 30s. And we've seen some insurers being very proactive whilst conducting a survey in terms of before they actually start doing cover for the complexes or whatever, that they actually go in and do an inspection and then report accordingly that the geysers will not be covered due to the fact that they are refurbished or whatever. So I think it's just to be vigilant in terms of where we are. We know things are tough. We know that the clients and, some individuals try and, get these things in, save a buck or whatever. But the key thing is, what guarantee are you going to have? Yeah, and are you prepared to put your company and yourself and your client at risk? So it's just to be vigilant and to just be aware of what we're purchasing and what we're installing. Sorry, I've got the Hottie-Dars that are agreeing with us this morning, Gerrie. They're jumping on here and going, yes, yes, yes. But yeah, I think it's covered. And I think the key thing for us is to be vigilant, to be observant. It's amazing, Gerrie, we've said it all along, where you go and find a geyser that's been installed the wrong way. And yet right on the front of that geyser is a diagram, detailing how you would install it. And it's amazing that it just seems to be an invisible document or sticker that's on there that nobody seems to see. And it's just about being vigilant. It's just about doing the right thing and working within the safe parameters and ensuring that we protect our consumer.
100%. Thanks, Steve. I see there's a question from Pumlani. Pumlani, I think your question has been answered, but let me just repeat. If the client bought the geyser, what must I do if the client requests me to install this geyser? So I think it's clear with what Steve had just said. First of all, I think as a professional and a qualified plumber, I will not install it, number one. And I will, you should maybe just inform the client that this is an illegal item. It does not comply with the standards. And even if you can, put it in writing so that they understand. And on the NRCS website, you'd be able to download that media release and provide that to the client. So I think, we need to take a stance regarding that. I really, and I think I'll be supported by all of the people in the room, do not install this geyser. It will definitely create a problem going forward, number one. Number two is, you need to issue at this point in time a COC for that geyser installation, and off the bat, it's already non-compliant just before you even started. So that's not the right thing to do. Then a follow-on question on that was, what about the geyser without the SABS mark? Example, super hot geyser. So in that instance, once again, as you saw on the media release, it is your responsibility as a plumber or as a purchaser to go to the supplier and to say, Mr. Supplier, this piece of equipment that you want to sell me, is there an LOA? And can I please have a copy of that LOA? You are entitled to ask that, and you should do that, because that's the only way to ensure that you are dealing with the correct product and with an approved product, and you're not going to fall into a trap. So I think that should answer that. Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything on that question.
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it quite well there, Gerrie. And I think the key thing, again, when I go back to is, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it may not be a duck, So I think we just need to realize that there are some issues out there, and it's just ask the question. It's not to say that maybe Super Hot don't have it. I mean, there may be a reason why. They may be waiting for their LOA. They may have documentation for there, but we won't know until we ask. And maybe Gerrie, just based on the question, is to just have a look at it. Maybe talk to Steve van Sale and just have a look there. So that we've got an answer to that. We can get back to Pumlani. But I think the key thing is for us to cheap does become expensive. We're looking to build sustainable businesses. And as much as I've seen in all my years in plumbing, the client, while you're on site, yes, we purchased it, no, we understand it, and then something goes wrong, and you're the one that goes under that bus. And you're the professional, and why didn't you tell me this? And and I've seen it and experienced it, and it should have been stopped right at the beginning with that. Well, then I cannot give you a warranty or a guarantee or anything on this, because you're going to put yourself at risk. And like Gerrie says, starting off right at the bat, where currently you're required to issue a certificate of compliance for that installation, you're already dead in the water. The wheels have already fallen off.
Oh, thanks, Steve. And also, we come across this quite often when it comes to audits and also special requests and complaints. What we need to be careful of is that you, the plumber, is seen as the professional person. So your advice is the advice that the client will most probably follow. And when it comes to, the bad things or the sad things that happens where there might be court cases coming up, I can bet you my bottom dollar that if you stand in front of the court, the first question they're going to ask you is, are you a professional plumber? Or you promote yourself as a professional qualified person. And your advice, if you advise this client then wrongly, it will definitely come back to bite you. That's not going to be acceptable to say, I didn't know, or, yeah, but I wasn't sure. Please, please, please ensure that you do the right thing, get the correct products, and get approved products. And in this instance, I mean, we all know what the results can be. These things can blow up and it can kill people. So please, as a last thing from my side, ensure that you do the right thing, do a safe installation, use the correct products. Do not go on this other route where it might cost a couple of cents less, but you're going to run risks. Steve, I think that's it from me.
Gerrie, I think the other thing is, and again, I experience it, weekly, is where sometimes you find that the client questions the plumber. And I have many phone calls, and as do you and Steve and our representatives in the region, is that because there's a good, backup to it, is that, the plumbers will say, look, sir, ma'am, let me contact ABCD and IOPS or whatever and let you explain. Or alternatively, there's so much information out there, as you've just shown there now with regards to the letters from NRCS, to back up the statement. It's not a he said and I'm trying to make more money out of this thing. You're trying to do the right thing. So again, there are options that, take yourself out of that space and, put the call through. And let us, from our industry point of view, explain the risks and everything else to the client. And I think I've seen in 90% of the cases that we've dealt with, the client is more at ease and understands the risks, etc., etc. Because remember, to a client, they don't see the risks. It's out of sight, out of mind, in the ceiling space. What do they want at the end of the day? Hot water. But not understanding the risks is a bit of a challenge for you and obviously for the consumer. So that's really in a nutshell where I am with that, Gerrie.
Yeah, and I think just as a last point, Steve, is also, if you have your regulation, your standards with you, it's much easier to show the client, this is what the regulations say. Sir, can you see this geyser? Does it have these items? Yes or no? So once again, having your regulation or your standard with you, whether what form it is, whether it's a hard copy, whether it's on electronic media, I think it becomes more and more important that people have that with them so that they can show the client, this is where we're coming from. It's not a personal opinion. It is what the regulations say, and that's what is contained in the law. I think that's it from me, Steve. I don't know whether you've got anything else from my side. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for participating here today. And all I can say is stay safe, good luck, and have fun.
Yeah, thank you very much again, Gerrie, for your time this morning, and to everybody in attendance. We trust you have a good and safe day, and we look forward to chatting next week. Thank you.